Hey, what's going on, everybody? Akeem here, and in today's Daily Fix, we've got good news for anyone interested in the new life sim inZOI, especially if you own one of the two major gaming consoles. Valve is getting a performance cap and a message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Presented by inZOI. Game developer Krafton has confirmed inZOI will be releasing on both the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles eventually. Now, this confirmation comes after the recent success of fans jumping into the free inZOI character creator demo on Steam. Now, the devs confirmed it'll be releasing on PC with an expected release date later on for Xbox and PS5. Now, there's no current release date for the life sim, but it's expected to see a full release on PC later this year, with console versions likely coming out in 2025, possibly after any bugs get worked out on PC. Now, there are a select few who have early PC builds of the game right now, so you can probably find a few content creators streaming their inZOI experience. Now, with this news, EA is, they're probably going to have to go back to the drawing board with whatever they're planning for their next sim game. Because with inZOI hitting the market, those who've been playing The Sims 4 for almost a decade now will likely be lured away to the more superior and advanced gameplay in inZOI. Now, of course, some might say inZOI is lacking the quirkiness of The Sims, where you can interact with aliens, brush shoulders with the Grim Reaper and the like, but we don't know for sure right now if those types of quirks are in inZOI or not. Now, inZOI might have quirks of its own that adds to its own charm. And with such an advanced character creator, you can probably just create the Grim Reaper yourself, or an alien. Now, one of the cool things we've seen with some inZOI gameplay and features is the fact that there's facial tracking and recognition, which means you can map your face to your ZOI's face, which will then mimic your facial movement. So for anyone wanting to work on machinimas, maybe RP in inZOI, or create VTuber content, well, that feature will help you with that particular process. It's so crazy how this game seemingly came out of nowhere, cultivating a large fan base for it already. I'm sold on this game, and out of all the games I've seen showcased at Gamescom this year, inZOI is by far the most interesting one to me. But that's just because, I have an affinity for open world games in general. And with it being a life sim, well, you already know your boy's gonna have a second life going into this one. Pun intended. But you know what? Let us know your thoughts. Do you think EA is gonna be shook right now? Do you think they're shook already? Maybe they'll push back any talks of Sims 5 because of all of this. Let's talk about it in the comment section down below. Moving along, the first-person single-player game Avowed will apparently run at a baseline 30 frames per second across the Xbox Series consoles. Now, speaking on the Iron Lords podcast, Obsidian art director Matt Hansen said, quote, "It's a first-person single-player game. You don't necessarily need that 60 frames. And that allows us to get a lot juicier with VFX and lighting and all this other stuff. It's a trade-off we opted to make relatively early, and we're really happy with that. The game's running pretty smooth for how visually dense it is, and that was always our goal." Now, while that might sound kind of crazy to some gamers, as 60 frames per second is kind of the baseline standard for most games these days, Obsidian is trying to cook with this one, beefing up the VFX and lighting effects. We can probably all assume Avowed will receive a 60 FPS performance mode post-launch, but we'll have to wait and see when it releases next year. And finally, inZOI reminds you to please be safe and drive sober, or identify a sober ride home for you or anyone that could be impaired. Doing this can help you and those you care about avoid a DUI, the possibility of a crash, or worse, killing someone. But don't take it from me. Here's Podcast Beyond's Max Scoville to tell you more.
Presented by inZOI. Crash Team Racing, MotorStorm, and Chocobo Racing capture some of the most fun elements of jumping behind the wheel and having fun with your friends. If you're planning on going out with friends this Labor Day weekend, make sure to plan ahead and designate a sober driver or use a rideshare service to get home safely. The likelihood of dying in a drunk driving crash is almost 3 times higher at night than during the day. It only takes one bad decision to change the trajectory of your life and others. Getting behind the wheel after you've been drinking is one of them. Driving drunk could change your world, so don't risk it. Drive sober or get pulled over.
All right, and that was your Daily Fix for today. Friday, baby, you just platinumed it. Now that you're caught up on today's news, please check out our previous episode. Download the IGN app on all your devices, and for everything else, stick with IGN.